What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'd like to bring you a video on a very special Mac. This is a PowerMac G4 Cube, and I finally got my hands on one of these. I purchased this from a collector a few weeks ago for a pretty good price, and I'm here to show you all around it. Now, this computer is a very similar philosophy to the 2013 Mac Pro, and that is a lot of power in a very small case. And this computer was released in 2000, and it was essentially a PowerMac G4 tower stuffed into an 8x8 cube. And it was very expensive, kind of like the Mac Pro was, and they didn't sell a whole lot of them, mainly because people didn't really care that the machine was so small. Everyone just went and bought the regular PowerMac G4. But looking back on it, 22 years later, it is a very cool machine, and these are very sought after by collectors and such. So I'm pretty happy that I was able to get my hands on this one. But anyway, as you can see, it is a very cool designed computer. The computer, of course, is a cube, hence the name, but it has this acrylic case too, which kind of makes it so it makes it seem as if the computer is floating off the desk, which I think is really cool. And of course, it's, like I said, acrylic plastic, and the actual computer unit is just this silver unit here. But as you can see on the front, we have a nice gray Apple logo. And then I will go ahead and take the camera off the tripod to show you the top, because it is pretty cool. So if we go ahead and look at the top here, you can see we have a nice big vent. I believe this computer is passively cooled, although I've also seen videos on YouTube stating that it does have an internal fan, so I'm not really sure which is which, but there you have it, a nice big vent. Here we have a touch power button right on the top, and I believe this is another vent for the graphics card in the back, and then that is a DVD-ROM drive. So there you go. That is pretty much it for the top of the machine. On the sides, there's nothing. All of the ports are actually on the bottom. So we go put the camera back on there, and we'll flip her around. So if you flip the machine around here, you can see similar story. We just have an Apple logo down here stating what it is. I'll go ahead and zoom in on that real quick, actually. So as you can see there, it is the PowerMac G4 Cube. Gives you all your regulatory information and such. And then, of course, we have a little cutout there for the cables and such. Now, if we go to the bottom of the machine, very carefully that is, I'm actually going to put a microfiber towel down before we do that, because I don't want to damage the machine. There you go. If we go on the bottom, that's where all the ports are. So let's go ahead and take a look at them all. So all the way to the left, that is the power port. Up at the top there, we have the ports on the graphics card, meaning a VGA and an Apple Display Connector port. This is an NVIDIA graphics card. It is actually a GeForce 2 MX. And so there's that. Then we have right below it, we have a 56K modem, two USB 1.1 ports, two FireWire 400s, and a 10100 Ethernet port. And then you can see we also have the reset and interrupt switches here, which was a staple of pretty much every classic Mac. Right down at the bottom, you can see that is the mechanism to remove the machine from the casing, which I'll do for you here in a second. And then down at the bottom there are your serial numbers and the specifications. But let's move on. I'm going to go ahead and reposition the camera just a little bit, because I want to show you how this computer comes out of its casing. So if I take it here and I put it like this, all we have to do is we're going to go ahead and push on this to release that, and then all we have to do is pull up, and the actual computer comes out of the casing. So I'll go ahead and file that to the side. I'll move this casing out of the way so we can take a look at the actual computer. I'll move the towel out of the way now. And here is the guts of the computer. Everything is in this little cube, which is pretty cool. There we have an NVIDIA GeForce 2 MX graphics card, which is nice. We have the memory housed right next to it. There are 3 slots, and it actually has 576 megabytes currently, with 1 slot empty. I believe these machines support up to 1.5 or 2 gigabytes, I can't remember. It should be 1.5 because there's 3 slots. So there's that, there's the graphics card. If we turn it over to this side, you can see, I believe this is a slot for an airport card, which this one does not have, obviously. There we have, I believe, some sort of power board. And then on this side, you're not going to be able to see anything. Moving over here, you can kind of see where the optical drive is, which is here. And then this one also does have an upgraded SSD in it. So it does not have the IDE hard drive anymore. It actually has a 64 gig SSD taking up that space. Now, you can see more than this, but you have to disassemble the machine, and I really don't want to do that. So I'll go ahead and move this to the side, go ahead and put our towel back down, and I will put the machine back in its casing. And that's it. She's ready to go. So I'll go ahead and flip her back over, and we will plug her in. Whoops, I was zoomed in way too much for that whole shot, but oh well. We'll go ahead and plug her into the setup, and then I will turn her on for you. All right, it's plugged back in. Let's go ahead and fire it up. Now, interestingly, this PowerMac G4 Cube is one of the only Macs ever made to not include a built-in speaker, so I have a USB sound card hooked up to a set of external speakers, but we are not going to get a bong still, so that is just something to keep in mind. Let's go ahead and have it boot up here. I'll go ahead and turn on the mouse so we can take a software tour a little bit. This does run OS X 10.4.11 Tiger, which is the latest operating system it supports. But that's fine because it's kind of nice to have a Tiger machine sitting around for interfacing with older Macs. So, of course, the clock battery is dead, but it is connected to the internet. I do have Ethernet, so it should update here fairly shortly. Let's go ahead and go into the system preferences. See that the network is connected. So then we'll go ahead and go into the date and time, if I can remember where the hell it is. You know what, I'm just going to go ahead and do this. Maybe. Yep, there you go. Alright, so it's updated now. Excellent. Anyhow, let's go ahead and check out the specs real quick. Like I said, this machine is slightly upgraded. So it does have the base 450 megahertz PowerPC G4, but it does have 576 megs of RAM. And like I mentioned before, it does have a 64 gigabyte Dogfish SSD in place of the hard drive, which obviously does help. So go and zoom in on that a little bit. There you go. So you can see the SSD there. Then if we go back to the hardware, you can see again 450 megahertz G4 and 576 megs of RAM. So there we are. So it does run Tiger pretty well. There's really nothing to report other than it does go on the internet. I'll go ahead and launch 10.4 for you guys real quick. It does browse the internet, but it is quite slow. Obviously, it's an old PowerPC Mac, so it's not going to handle the modern internet too well. But you know, of course, 10.4 does help. You can actually browse websites that way because Safari built into Tiger is just far too old. So there you go. We can see we are on Google real quick, and yeah, that works just fine. Now, as is a running theme with me, I don't really have much software on these old computers. They kind of just sit around and take up space. But it is cool to have one of these in my collection, even if I'm not really going to use it for anything. They are a very special Mac, like I said, and quite sought after. So it's cool to have one sitting around along with the other Macs in my collection, which you might be able to see over there. But with that said, guys, I'd like to thank you guys for watching the video on this G4 Cube, and I will see y'all in the next one.